أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وجعل منها زوجها ليسكن إليها فلما تغشاها حملت حملا خفيفا فمرت به فلما أثقلت دعوى الله ربهما لئن آتيتنا صالحا لنكونن من الشاكرين. Respectful honorable friends, continuing with the same verse, and it is on this verse that after the last 4 or 5 weeks I've been mentioning to you the various hukuk and rights of the husband and wife. The reality is, although this verse is not specific with marriage, but on where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا, translation of the first part of this verse is هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. It is He who created you from a single soul and made a spouse from there so that He could find comfort with her. So it was on this aspect of لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, which is an integral part of marriage, that the husband finds comfort from his wife. It is on this that I've sort of gone on to the topic of marriage and the various hukuk between husband and wife. And it's been a couple of weeks since we've been doing it, but I'm sure it has benefited many, and I know there are many others who are quite disappointed who could not follow last week's tafsir as due to technical glitch. We couldn't broadcast the live streaming, so many international listeners could not follow. However, very soon inshallah, just the way the tafsir is put onto the website, this will be, and I presume this session of tafsir with regards to these hukuk between husband and wife will be probably put separately as well, for those who benefit at a later date, and also for those who may not have been able to follow the previous sessions. Although we are currently streaming as well, however there might be some glitches still. Just bear with and make dua, we can sort it out as soon as possible inshallah. Now the reason why I've gone into so much detail and time with regards to this aspect of the hukuk between the husband and wife is due to the importance of this relationship of nikah. As I mentioned to you previously, that nikah, it's an institution, and because of the importance of it, it is very, very important that the relationship between the husband and wife is one of comfort, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to us. Because nikah, dear friends, is something which is positive, and nikah is something which is beneficial. But at the same time, it will only be beneficial for us when the various hukuk are fulfilled. Because anything that is beneficial, if it is misused, then its benefits are overpowered, and you'll see more harms from it than benefits. For example, you have honey, and we all know the benefits of honey. However, if somebody places or mix some poison with honey, Or similarly, aloe. If this mixes with honey, it totally destroys the sweetness of honey and it makes it bitter. Whereas honey is honey. And honey naturally is beneficial and naturally it is sweet. To taste it is sweet and naturally as well it is beneficial, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed shifa in honey. So this is the benefits of honey. However, the same thing that has so much sweetness in it and has so much benefit in it, if a person mixes something bitter with it, it will remove the sweetness from it. Mix poison with it, it won't give shifa, but rather it will kill a person. Now, a person cannot blame honey for that. There's something wrong with this honey is bitter. The honey is sweet. But it's because of the bitter stuff, ingredient mixed with it, it's become bitter. Honey has killed me. It's not the honey that has killed, it is the poison that has been mixed with the honey. So marriage on its own is something that is sweet, and marriage is something that is beneficial. But if we, as long as we keep it pure and we keep it such, but if we then change things and we add some bitterness into that marriage, bitterness is that which I mentioned last week of how shaitan, he and Iblis draws closest to him, that shaitan who creates a difference between the husband and wife. That is what shaitan wants. Why? Because it is from that break-up that so many other fitan and so many other difficulties arise. Just from that break-up between the husband and wife. And the other trend that we have nowadays, unfortunately, is that when there is a breakup between the husband and wife, and it's not just the husband and wife who suffer, but that in the immediate family they all suffer, including the children. And we have this trend nowadays in people who are not close to Deen, as well as those who are on Deen as well. That in order to take revenge on the husband, it's because the wife may be upset with the husband, she thinks that now deny the husband the rights of seeing the children. Meaning deny the father the rights of seeing the children. And this is something that is, and I mentioned this many times, that when it comes to such matters of split and divorce and matters of such, where for the sake of material gain, how we go and we transgress the ahkam of the shariat, and the ahkam and the laws of shariat. And this is just in order for us to create pain or to take revenge on the other person, being spiteful. So if there is a difference of opinion, there is a breakage of relationship between the husband and wife, it does not mean that now the father should be denied his rights of seeing the children. After all, it is his children. Just as much as they are the children of the mother, they are the children of the father as well. Although the Shariat may give till the age of bulugh the rights of upbringing to the mother, but that does not mean that the father cannot see the children. So where the women folk deliberately, just to cause pain or take revenge, or by being spiteful, deny the husband or deny the father rights of seeing the children, they are transgressing and they are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I mentioned to you, marriage has its benefits, and marriage is sweet, and marriage has comfort in it for husband and wife, but that is as long as we keep it such. And for that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the various ayahs of the Quran, and similarly in the various ahadith, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned to us various ahkam, or mentioned to us various hukuk, rights of the wife and rights of the husband. If these are carried out, then you'll find that the sweetness will remain in the marriage, the comfort will remain in the marriage, the pleasure will remain in the marriage, and the benefits of the marriage will remain. If we forgo these, or if we go against these, then that's when the bitterness starts entering into the marriages. Now in last week's Nabi Karim, in another hadith, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with regards to marriage, Sayyidina Ibn Abbas sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions to Nabi Karim saying, "Lam tara lil mutahabaini misl nikah." When Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that I have not seen any love between two people like that of nikah. Lam tara lil mutahabaini misl nikah. There is no love between two people like that of nikah. That is how important nikah is. And which also shows that in nikah there needs to be love. There is no nikah where there is no love. That is just a bondship. That is just an act, a transaction between two people in a relationship. Nikah of enjoyment and pleasure is where there is love. And here Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that love, there is all sorts of love. Where there is love between the parents and their children, the children and their parents, between brothers and sisters, brothers, sisters and friends and that. This is all love. But Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that the love between two people that you find and you get in nikah, I have not seen any love of that nature. That's how unique this relationship and bondship is. We're two absolute strangers. Absolute strangers. With regards to family ties, there a person does not have a choice. They did not choose who their family is. So there they have to maintain the ties there. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stressed on maintaining ties with relationships. Do not sever and break it. Because it is not something you have chosen. So because you haven't chosen that, then there are going to be such family members who you may not get on with, or you may not like. But despite that, you need to maintain ties with them. Nikah is unique, where total strangers, the boy and the girl are absolute strangers. They do not know one another at all. And just by the exchanging of certain words, of I have accepted, maine qabul kiya, I have accepted, and taking one another in nikah, these absolute strangers become the most closest beings to one another. Where they were total strangers to one another, but now they become the most closest to one another, closer than any other relationship. Meaning that on one side you will have a mother and you have the son. You have the father and you have the daughter. There is bondship and relationship there. But as time goes, that relationship starts changing as well. Just so you will find a mother. The mother is the one who sees and tends towards the various needs of her child. She changes the nappy of the child. She washes the child. She bathes the child. She changes the child. She does all these things. So in such a way that there is no hijab or satar between the mother and the child. But then as the child grows up and becomes of age, now that comes to an end. And a time will now come wherein the husband can't, the mother won't make such khidmat of the child, and neither will a child make such khidmat of the mother. But this relationship of nikah is such that it is only in this relationship that such privacy no longer remains, where they become close to one another, that it is only halal and permissible for the husband and wife to be able to see the private organs or the satar of one another. Until the end, they are the closest. They share their feelings, they share their secrets, and they share the emotions with one another. This is what Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. Such muhabbat and such love I have not seen, but that's through nikah. And that this is what nikah does as well, and this is what it shows as well, that outside nikah, where there is love, this is not true love. That is not true love. And outside nikah you will find it's very easy for deception, for deceit, and for that love to come to an end. But within nikah you will find that it is bondship, and that remains. It doesn't just break so easily. People won't just go and deceive or be disloyal to one another so easily. And outside nikah, that relationship, no matter how much we profess that we love one another, but it is temporary. And once nikah takes place, nikah actually increases bondship and increases love. So when nikah has this role, it is very, very important that these hukuk must be adhered to, so that the essence and the importance of nikah, the benefits of nikah remain in its place. Now in last week's tafsir, I had mentioned to you, or had began mentioning to you, the hukuk of and the rights of the husband. And the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Ar-Rijalu Khawwamuna 'ala an-Nisa. Although on that I think we went straight more back to the women, the women side. Now in this verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Ar-Rijalu Khawwamuna 'ala an-Nisa, that the men, they are the guardians of the women. Means that they are the stronger over the women. the stronger ones over the women. They are the qawwamun. And they are the ones who establish order. Now the reason why we swayed towards the women's side last week was, in order for us, as I mentioned, to get that balance in this. Where on one side the men folk, they think that because of this verse we have absolute full power in the home. And that means that we are, the dictators in the home. And they remain and they live as a dictator in the home. That does not work. And that's one extreme we have. And the other extreme we have in our times is where the women feel no. As much as if he is a dictator, just the way we have men who are dictators, and men who run countries and nations in the same way, that I should be able to have rights to run the home and the affairs of the home as well. So we have on the other extreme as well, where on one side the husband, he is showing his dictatorship, and then on the other side the woman, where now she is showing her rule as well. She is showing her rule as well. That why in a free world, when I am azad and I am free, then why should somebody dictate over me, or why should somebody be ruling? I should have just as much rights to be able to govern in the home, to run the affairs of the home. So on that other side we have this extreme as well. Whereas where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly mentioned that Ar-Rijalu Qawwamuna 'ala Nisa, that it is the men who have charge over women. Because بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ, because of the virtue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His wisdom, He has bestowed some of you over others. And one of this is because بِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, because of the fact that it is the men who spend from their wealth on the women. So this is a reality and this is a fact. A reality and a fact that women folk must adhere to, and they must accept that, look, this is the system of Allah. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it. That in the home, it is the rule of the husband. In the home, my duty is that I obey the husband. And things will be the way the husband wants it to be. And as I mentioned to you, but in that it does not mean that the husband then oppresses the wife, or he dictates matters in the home. And the examples I had given to you in last week's tafsir, these examples were for us to show and really see how, despite this, how Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with the Azwaj Mutahharat. So it wasn't a dictatorship that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had within his homes. So it is very, very important for us to understand this and get this fine and the correct balance in this. And very, very important for all those women who feel that they are azad and they are free to do what they wish and do what they want. This is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned with regards to matters of nikah. But when it comes to such running of the matters of the home, in it at the same time, the husband, or in the matters within the husband and wife, the husband should also take and seek advice from the wife. Or when the wife has something to say and the wife is correct in a matter, then the husband should accept that. The other place where we go crooked is where at times the husband is wrong, but he is still enforcing the wrong that he is doing, instead of accepting that the wife may be correct at that time. Because there are times wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give the women folk some insight or some understanding on a certain matter which the husband may not have picked up upon. And when the women folk give such advice, the husband, at the end, as I mentioned to you, he is the Amir. So he will decide what happens and what doesn't happen, but he will take mashwara and he will hear the advice, and if he feels that that advice is worthy, that advice is good, then he will take heed to it. An example of this, at the time of the Surah of Hudaybiyah, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala had come with the intention of performing Umrah, but the mushrikeen of Makkah had prevented them from doing the Umrah. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were told in the pact that they would come back the following year. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, they had already prepared for Umrah, and they had brought the animals of sacrifice as well. And they were very upset on the fact that they've come and they are unable to perform the Umrah. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam even said to them that now just, complete your sacrifice, do the halak and come out of ihram, and we'll come back for the following year. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned this to the Sahaba that they should do such. But the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala at that time were still very upset on the fact that they couldn't do the Umrah. So they didn't immediately carry out this command of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam went aside and he sat down. Then Safiya radiallahu ta'ala anha mentions that she saw that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam was disturbed. Disturbed the fact that the Sahaba are upset, and also the fact that the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala this time they're not adhering to what has been said. So how can he bring them around? Sayyidina Safiya radiallahu ta'ala anha gave this advice to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Nabi of Allah, the Sahaba of yours as such, you do anything, they follow it. So best is, why don't you just make halak and make zabah and not send your hadi forward and make halak. The moment they see you doing halak and coming out of ihram, they will also do the same. So Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam did what? He took the advice of who? Sayyidina Safiya. He didn't say that, oh Safiya, you're my wife. Who gave you the right to speak? Oh Safiya, I am the Amir in the house. Ar-rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa. I am the boss here. Who told you to speak? Who are you to tell me what to do? He didn't say to Safiya, Safiya, what do you know? Nothing of that nature. Here, this is not just ar-rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa, not just the Amir in the house. This is Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whose talim and his instructions are such that the entire ummah are going to follow. But despite that, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this moment, who in such a matter was unsure what to do. Since Safiya radiallahu ta'ala anha gave her opinion, and because that opinion was a valid opinion, constructive opinion, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted it, and Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam made amal upon it. Which shows us what to do, that this ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa needs to be, we need to get the right balance in it. So where there is a decision such, the husband is the one who makes the decision. But it's not a case wherein he blocks everything else and he just does what he wants to do. And that he doesn't listen to what the wife has to say. Or he doesn't take heed to her advice or her mashwara. Or where he understands himself that, look, at this moment I have made a wrong decision and what she is saying is correct, but he still remains stubborn upon it. It doesn't mean that. It means that he is a decision maker, but he will take advice from her and he will go accordingly as well. And he will admit where he is wrong and change his views and change his ways when he sees another way that is better than that which is his. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions ar-rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa. And in the same verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, now we're going on to mention to you another aspect with regards to the hukuk of the husband. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتٌ حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهُ. That one of the other qualities is that the righteous women, they are obedient to their husbands. حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهُ. And that in the absence of the husband, they are protective of that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here another point. And this is another hukuk, haq and right of the husband. That is, that those women who are salihat, those who are pious, they will carry this out. And that is, they are hafizat. They are protectors. They are protectors of the home and the wealth of the husband. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned to her in the Quran. Now, in order for her to be able to protect his house, protect his wealth, she needs to be in the house to be able to do that. Because where and why Allah Ta'ala says this for, is because, as I mentioned to you, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system. And as long as this system is maintained, things will run correctly. This is the way you have a train line. As long as everything and all the balls, nuts and runners and everything are in place, things will run. The train will run smoothly. Even if a bolt or a screw or anything is out of place, there is danger. The train is going to be derailed. And this is what we find in our marriages. The marriages don't run smoothly. There's always derailments. And the reason is because of these changes that we bring about on the duties of the husband and the wife. So over and over in the hadith which I mentioned to you as well, and in this verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the wives protectors. Protectors of the home, the possession of the husband and his wealth, meaning that she looks after the home. Why? Because the husband, his duty is that he's going to go out of the house and he's going to work and he's going to toil outside. So whilst he's out of the house, the woman who's going to be the wife, who's going to be alone within the home, it is her duty. Now she protects and she looks after the home. But she can only do that if she's going to be at home. If she's also going off to work as well, and the husband is also going off to work, then who's going to look after the home and who's going to look after the wealth of the husband? So for that she needs to be at home. And why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this is that when this is her now duty given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that she protects the wealth of the husband, meaning that she does not abuse the wealth of the husband. She protects her own dignity whilst the husband is out of the home. And at the same time she protects the wealth of the husband. Not that when she's out and she invites her friends in and they have a good party each time the husband is out of the home. Then when he's out of the home, she takes from his wealth and she gives it to her family members. And she distributes it and uses the wealth however she wants to, and she spends it however she wants to. That's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but she is one who will protect the home when the husband is outside the home. This is her duty. Although her duty is not to cook for the husband, but this is a duty of hers given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember, dear friends, just to again clarify, in the past a couple of sessions ago, where I had mentioned with regards the hukuk of the wives. And we had mentioned to you there with regards to this cooking aspect of what her duties are and what her duties are not. Remember, one is those things, principles, or those duties that the Shariat has given. We'll say laws of the Shariat. That is on one side. And on the other side we have the Sunnah of Nabi Karim sallallahu ta'ala sallam. And in last week's tafsir and the previous ones, the various examples I mentioned to you, the incidents in the past of Nabi Karim and the Azwaj Mutahharat. These are for us to gain lessons from these waqiyat, these incidents from the Sunnah of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because if we just going to take the law, just the law, then it's not going to work accordingly. Because the law is, as I mentioned, the law is the wife does not have to cook for the husband. But at the same time, the law is the wife cannot step foot out of the house without the permission of the husband. The law is that the wife, if she becomes the husband, he provides for the wife. But the law at the same time is that if the wife becomes ill, then the husband, it is not the duty of the husband to get her, to have her treated. It is not his duty, it is her parents' duty that they see towards her treatment. He does not have to take her to the doctor. He doesn't have to pay for her treatment and buy her any medication. So if we're going to take it by law, then it's going to be difficult. By law, the husband does not need to take the wife to see her parents. By law, once in 7 days, the parents can come to see the daughter. But by law, if the husband hasn't given them permission, they cannot step foot in the house. They can only see her from a distance and say salam kalam and go from there. So by law, these are the things. So if we're going to go accordingly, then this train is not going to move at all. It is going to derail before it even goes forward. These are the ahkam that the Shariat has given to lay down to us. But what we need to see is the Sunnah of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as how the Azwaj Mutahharat and how the Sahaba and how Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they lived, and the example that they had shown us and given to us. In a prime example I had given to you, mentioned to you with regards to Fatima and Ali radiallahu ta'ala, they had made this agreement. That you, Fatima, you will see towards all the affairs and the work within the home, and I will see towards all the affairs and the work outside the home. It is nowadays that women folks think that the husband, he is going out and he's doing a lot more work, he has the responsibilities. And she wants to be equal to him, and she wants to be able to go out and do the same. That one of them to just sit there doing nothing in the home. Whereas if you look at it, the amount of work there is to be done in the home, the amount of things that need to be done in the home, this itself is an occupation on its own. This itself is an occupation on its own. That's why in the past the occupation was wife occupation, housewife. Reason being is nowadays you can't call them housewives anymore. So it's a case of that housewife. Why? Because that itself was an occupation, that so many things there are with regards to matters of the home that they need to be doing. So if in the matters of the home it's going to be a case of where the wife says, no, it's not my duty to cook. Well, I can cook for myself but not for you. And then the husband says, well, you're ill now, you go find your own doctor and sort yourself out. It's not my duty to do that. So if we're going to be doing these, and not my duty, not your duty, not my duty, not your duty, the home is not going to run correctly. So that's why it's very, very important that we understand these issues and these matters. So with regards to the protection of the home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this is the work of the women folk, their duty, that they protect the home and the wealth of the husband. That they do not go and just spend and waste the wealth of the husband. Hazrat Hakim al-Muntari rahmatullahi alayhi mentions that it is a duty on the wife that she has feelings. She has feelings for the wealth of the husband. Meaning that she is concerned with regards the wealth of the husband. Which then means that she will not make undue demands. She will not waste and spend the wealth of the husband. This is one of her duties that she has been given. Not that she understands, she says, well, my husband, he's got a good job. He's earning a lot. So because he's earning a lot and because he might have given her a credit card as well. So then she thinks now, shopping spree. Make the most of it, and she's piling up the bills. And when the husband is out, there's one case, and the reason I'm mentioning a lot of these things is because there's so many cases day and night with regards to these marriage issues. And a lot of this is because we are totally unaware of the Sharia and the Islamic teachings with regards to such matters. So for that reason I'm spending so much time on this issue as well. So one case was where the husband had this complaint, that whatever he's earning, she now, when he's not in the home, she's lending her brother's money. So when he's out of the home, the brothers come in. One saying, I need to lend me some money for this. They're not working, lend me money for this. Another is saying, lend me money for that. Other is coming for this, coming for that. And in this way, the money is going out on her family. And then it went on, and there's so many issues going on, this and that, wherein it actually led to a stage wherein it was a case of now she had to make hisab, kitab and receipt for everything. And this is what happens. And this happens because she does not, for her it's nothing. She's not working because she's not working and earning. She has no qadr. She does not appreciate the wealth of the husband. So she goes and she wastes it. Even though the husband may have given her some money that go and do whatever you need to do, buy whatever you need to do some shopping and that. But still it is her duty that she thinks before she even purchases something and buys something. Not that because it's the husband's money, it's not her money, so never mind, if he's giving me the money, then I can go and buy the most expensive of things that I want. But it is her duty that she should also realize and think that, look, okay, according to the financial condition of my husband, accordingly let me choose and make that decision of what item I'm going to purchase according to that. Not just looking at the price and the quality, but on that basis of, look, what position my husband is. Why should I squander the wealth of my husband? This is also one of her duties. And this is one place where you find, just leave it there, where husband and wife have this dispute with one another, where there's no accountability on money and wealth issues and that. And where there is so much fights and arguments just with regards to money, where the husband feels that, look, she is abusing the wealth that he has given. And this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning here. That she is one who, she has to protect the house, and she protects the wealth of the husband. In other riwayat, and this is again duties, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given every person various duties, and each person who carries that out, systems will run correctly. It is when now what we have, where people each one wants to be equal with one another, that's when things do not work. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that ala kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. That look, each and every single one of you is a shepherd, and each one will be questioned with regards to his flock. Ar-rajulu ra'in ala ahli baytihi. That the husband, he is the guardian, and he is going to be questioned with regards to his family. The condition of his family. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. His duty is that he gives dawah to his family, and he sees towards their dini tarbiyat, and that is his duty, that he looks towards them with regards to his family members. وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَائِيَةٌ عَلَى بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا وَوَلَدِهِ. Nabi Karim mentions. So when that is the position of the husband, then what is the position of the wife? That she is وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَائِيَةٌ, that she is now the shepherd here. She is the one who is responsible for عَلَى بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا وَوَلَدِهِ. That she is now in charge, and she will be questioned with regards to the house of the husband and the children. That is the duty given to her. Meaning that the duty of tarbiyat of the children first initially lies on the mother. And if there is any deficiencies there, the mother will be questioned first before the husband. Because the husband is the one who's going to be outside, he's going to be at work. So when he is outside at work, the children are going to be at home with the mother. So she is responsible for looking after the children, making a tarbiyat of the children, as well as looking after the home of the husband. Nabi Karim mentions what? كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Wherever there is any deficiency here, then each one will be questioned with regards to his or her flock. So the husband, he'll be questioned with regards to his entire family. And the wife, she'll be questioned with regards to the affairs of the home and the tarbiyat of the children. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has distributed these forms of rights between them. Further we find, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning here in the Quran. In another hadith, Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with regards to hukuk of the husband, mentions, and I'll be just mentioning some selected hadiths because the hadiths are many. Otherwise we'll be going on and on with this subject. In another hadith of Bukhari, of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions, لا يحل للمرأة أن تصوم, that it is not permissible for a woman that she fasts was زوجها شاهد إلا بإذنه. That it is not halal for a wife that she fasts whilst the husband is present, he is around, but with his permission. And at the same time, وَلَا تَأْذُنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ, she should not allow or give permission to anybody to enter into the house without his permission. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam here mentions two things. One is that she should not fast without the permission of the husband. And here this fasting refers to what? Nafal fast. First, you do not ask. It refers to nafal fast. That she should not keep nafal fast without the permission of the husband. Now just see again, getting a balance is important. This now does not mean that the husband, he says to the wife, that's it, you can't keep any nafal fast at all. Where the wife, she has a desire, she wants to keep nafal fast, but the husband on the other side, he prevents her, doesn't allow her to fast at all. No, that isn't the case. And neither should it be that the wife, she just continuously, fasts away without thinking of the husband. So whenever she wants to keep nafal fast, now just imagine here, nafal fast is what? It is an ibadat. But even for an ibadat where she is going to get reward for it, and she is doing ibadat for who? She is doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah ta'ala is saying what? No. Even though that ibadat is for me and you'll get reward for it, but more important than that is the khidmat of your husband. If your husband needs you, meaning that if nafal fast, if she is fasting during the day, the husband may have a need for his wife. And if she is fasting, then he won't be able to have that need of his fulfilled. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here that look, it is a case of that look, and so Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam hadiths, that do not fast but with the permission of the husband. So that although by fasting she'll get reward, and she's doing that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but more important than that ibadat for her is the ibadat, that reward that she will get in the khidmat of her husband. That even if it does mean that she never gets to keep any fast at all, any nafal fast, for the sake of her husband, she should never feel that she's been left out and she's lost out in any ibadat or any thawab. But rather she'll get double reward. double reward in foregoing that and making khidmat of the husband and seeing towards the husband. So when it comes to matters of deen, that even there she forgoes that and she can't do that without the permission of her husband. Then what about other matters of life? Of just going out of the house and just going out and making her own decisions and doing what she wants to have her freedom. Those are worldly things. And then she feels that she can do that and she can associate with whoever she wants to without the permission of the husband. As the other part of this hadith is the Mr. mentioned that she can't allow anybody in the house who the husband does not want. And I'll mention that in a moment. So when matters of deen, this is the case. And for those women folk who feel that no, they want to fast and they want to read salah and they want to do so much nafal ibadat and not see towards the husband, and they feel that this is her jannat and this is her ibadat, she's absolutely wrong there. For her jannat is her husband. Ayyuhuma imratin matat wa zawjuha anha radin dakhalat al-jannah. Nabi Karim mentions that wife who dies in a condition that her husband is pleased with her, she will enter into jannat. Whereas if she just sat there doing ibadat her whole life, and that doesn't mean the husband stop her from doing ibadat, but it doesn't mean that women folks spend all the time just doing ibadat and not doing the khidmat of her husband. For her, if she forgoes that ibadat, that nafal ibadat, and does the khidmat of her husband, she'll get more reward for that. And one riwayat, Ajib riwayat this, where, of Abu Dawood, where a wife, and Abu Sa'id, Abu Dawud and Ibn Majah, Abu Sa'id mentioned this riwayat, that the wife of Safwan bin Mu'attal radiallahu ta'ala came to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when she came to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she complained and she complained about her husband. And at that time Safwan bin Mu'attal was there in the gathering, the other companions there as well. She came and she complained and she said to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يَذْرِبُنِي إِذَا صَلَّيْتُ وَيُفَتِّرُنِي إِذَا أَصُومُ. She made 3 complaints. One is she said, يَذْرِبُنِي إِذَا صَلَّيْتُ, that he hits me when I perform salat. And وَيُفَتِّرُنِي إِذَا صُمْتُ, when I fast, he makes me break my fast. And the other is that he doesn't perform salah, his fajr salah, he delays it till it's almost sunrise. She has 3 complaints to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Safwan bin Mu'attal radiallahu ta'ala was sat there as well in the gathering. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him with regards it, that this is the complaint, what is it that you have to say? And this is something that is very, very important, of getting both sides. There's always 2 sides to it. If you just read the first part of the hadith and you think, hey, what type of person this is? She's just coming and saying to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يَذْرِبُنِي إِذَا صَلَّيْتُ, that I perform salah and he hits me. Someone will say, what type of fasting fajr he is that she's performing salah and he's hitting her on that? And يُفَتِّرُنِي إِذَا صُمْتُ, when I keep fast and he makes me break my fast. And he is definitely an oppressive husband here. But that is just listening to one side. And in such matters, it is very, very important to get both sides. Do not become swayed this side or the other side. And because at times people can be very sweet with their tongues. So in Salma radiallahu ta'ala mentions, hadith of Bukhari and Muslim, of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that, look, Ana Bashar, I am a human being. And you will come to me with your arguments and with your conflicts. But there will be those who will sway me because of the manner in which they speak. Allahnu bihujjatihi. That because of in the argumentation, because they are so eloquent and they can express themselves so good. Especially if there's somebody who might have studied some law and that, then they'll be able to express himself even better. Nabi Karim says, because of that, of what you hear, I may give a verdict in your favor. The Nabi Karim mentions, but however, if I give such a verdict, and then if you take that does not belong to you, you take of that which belongs to your brother, then you have taken a piece from the fire of Jahannam. Meaning that there will be those who may be able to, by means of their tongues and their speech, influence people, and you think, no, this person definitely has a point. Whether wife, she complains, she phones the mufti and she says, my husband is at this, my husband is at that. She'll be convinced. And next time you see the husband and he gets a good telling off. That you are like this, you are like, how can you be like this to your wife? Whereas there might be stories on the other side as well. Or the husband comes and he's complaining about his wife, that my wife is like this, my wife is like that, and my wife is like this. He has 5 complaints, and I'm perfect. But I'm perfect. And when you listen to the wife, he came with 5 complaints of the wife, and the wife comes with 10 complaints of the husband. So there are always two sides, and you have to listen to both. In Ali radiallahu ta'ala mentions Abu Dawud riwayat that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent me as a governor or as a qazi to Yemen. And when he sent me as a qazi to Yemen, I said to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, "Oh Nabi of Allah, you sending me as a qazi, whereas I am Hadisu Sydney. I am still young in age. Wala ilma bil qaza. Neither do I possess knowledge of governing and knowledge of being a qazi or giving rulings and verdicts." Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide your heart towards the right and keep your tongue steadfast. And then Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that when one person comes to you and mentions his side, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions la taghzi li rajul awwal hatta tasma kalam al-akhar, that do not give a verdict after hearing just one side until you don't hear that of the other person. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned why? Because this is better for you and this is easier for you to make a decision. That you hear both sides, it will be easy for you to make a decision. And Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala mentions that after that I had no doubts whatever when it came to making a ruling and decision. So here the wife of Safwan bin Mu'attal, she came with these complaints of hers, valid complaints you'd think. Then when Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Safwan bin Mu'attal said that, "Oh Nabi of Allah," where she says that I hit her because of her salat, he says that when she performs salah, then she reads 2 surahs instead of 1. Means that in her salah she reads 2 long surahs. So I might be just sat there waiting to talk to her or speak to her something, and she's standing there on the musalla. And she's reading 2 long surahs. For that reason I hit her telling her to read 1. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her that it is sufficient and it suffices for a person just to read 1 surah. So Nabi Karim told her that, look, read only 1 surah, that is sufficient for you. Then he says, "Oh Nabi of Allah," where she says that I make her break her fast and she's complaining about that, to which he mentioned, فَإِنَّهَا تَنْتَلِكُ تَصُومُ وَأَنَا رَجُلٌ شَابٌ فَلَا أَصْبِرُ عَلَى نَفْسِي, which he mentioned that, oh Nabi of Allah, when he comes to fasting, nafil fast, that she فَإِنَّهَا تَنْتَلِكُ تَصُومُ, she was continuous fasting. Every day she's just fasting along, she's fasting all the time. And أَنَا رَجُلٌ شَابٌ, and I am a young man, and I have my needs. Hence I cannot make sabr till the night, till the evening. So for that reason, I prevent her from fasting so much. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, "La tasumu imratu illa bi izni zawjiha," that a woman should not fast but with the permission of her husband. Should not fast but with the permission of her husband. So here, how Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard both sides, and how hers seemed so dramatical and so convincing as well. But then when Sayyidina Safwan bin Mu'attal gave his point of view, then it made clear who was right and who was wrong at that moment. It's in the third where she had complained that he performed his salah almost close to sunrise. When he asked, the Nabi asked him with regards to that, to which he mentioned, "Oh Nabi of Allah, I'm from those people who we go out and we work during the day and we work at night harvesting and seeing towards the fields and giving water to the fields and that. So we work very hard and many times we come home very late at night. So because of that it is difficult to wake up at the early time for Fajr. So I sleep till it is almost the light, it becomes light. So then I wake up then and perform my Fajr." Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, "Fair enough, perform Fajr when your eyes open." Now don't take that wrong, fair enough, that means sleep in this. Eyes open 12 midday, perform Fajr 12 midday. That isn't what Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving permission for. But saying that, okay, fair enough, perform it when you are performing it, meaning before sunrise. Because in that time there was that practice as well. Although there's different opinion between the fuqaha of performing Fajr in the early time or the later time, when it is dark or when it is light. So there was that habit of performing Fajr at the early time. So for them to delay it was something unique, that the salah has been delayed so much. And this is something I mentioned in Jummah today, with regards to hifazat, protecting of the salah, with regards to the time of salah. So in this way she had this complaint, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas like that she said that he performs salah, he doesn't perform his Fajr salah until the sun rises. These were her words. That he does not perform his salah, la tusalli sahara, Fajr salah, until the sun does not rise. Somebody hearing that would definitely think that look what type of husband he is, that he's making his further qaza as well. And these are the type of things that do happen. And when a person just takes it one side, and then it's difficult to deal between them. You need to get both sides, because there's always two sides to a coin. Anyhow, in this one riwayat, when Nabi Karim mentioned that it's not permissible for her to fast, or halal for her to fast, but with the permission of the husband. We show that when it comes to such ibadat, nafal, excessive. Said Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, dear friend, she herself mentions that in the month of Ramadan, if there were, when there are such fasts that would be missed, which is natural for women folk. She says, I would delay making qaza of them till the following Shaban. Why? Although the fuqaha mentioned that the woman should fulfill it and complete the fast as soon as possible, so that is there in its place. But what is the intention of Sayyidina Aisha? She says, I would delay till Shaban. Why? Because in the month of Shaban, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would fast. Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would fast excessively in the month of Shaban. So rather, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would be fasting, I would fast then as well. This is a first fast. We're not talking about she needs to make qaza of it. This is a duty on her. We're not even nafal. But just look here. She's saying, as those are those days when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is keeping his nafal fast. So I'd rather keep my fast during those days, so we both fasting during that time, instead of me fasting at a time when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam may not be fasting. So just look here how much in ibadat as well, how much there is consideration here between the husband and the wife. And this is something that we don't have in our marriages nowadays. Consideration for one another. The husband, he just considers himself. Look, she's not thinking about me. She's not thinking about me. And on the other side, she's just thinking, look, he's not thinking about me. So he's got his complaints that she's not taking me into consideration, and she's saying he doesn't keep me in consideration. Whereas here is a case of keeping one another into consideration. And when that is the case, that's when everybody is happy with one another, because the rights are fulfilled as well. So here Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Nabi Karim is not complaining anyway. And here Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala has made it so easy that there would be no complaint. And she is taking this into consideration, that these are those days when Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be fasting as well. So due to that, it is best that I fast at that time as well. So these are those days wherein nowadays you find what? You have on one side the wife is complaining that the husband, he doesn't give me any time. He doesn't give me any time. And on the other side you have the husband where he's complaining, the wife, she doesn't give me any time. So both sides are complaining. Where the husband, he's always out. So he's not considering the wife. Look, there are times wherein the wife, she wants to speak with me, she wants me to be in the home, help her in the home, so I should consider that and be with her at that time. And on the other side is the case of, there might be times wherein the husband, he's off work. And when he's off work and now he's got a chance to be with his wife and children, that's the time when she's saying to him, take me home. He's saying, drop me off at my mother's house. Let me go with the kids for holiday there. It doesn't matter if the husband is fine, he says, okay, it's holiday time, go with your kids and spend some time with your kids. That is fine. But then this is what happens. When he's not there, she's complaining. And then when he's there, then she wants to run away. So these are the type of things that happen. And this is very common. Where the husband wants the wife at home, but the wife, she wants to be outside the home. Or she wants to be at her parents' home instead of being at home. And because of that, when the husband comes home and then we think matters, duties or chores of the home are not fulfilled. And the reason why they are not fulfilled and they haven't taken place is because of this same reason. And the reason is why? Because she's gone out, she's somewhere else. And many times when the husband is at home, one case I dealt with, alhamdulillah, this is how it's so much experience now in this matter. One case wherein the husband, his complaint was that at night I come home, and his biggest mistake he made is that his house is just 2 houses away from his in-laws. So he says every night, she's just given the food, have the food, and before I know, finish the food, she's already next door at home. So the night she's spending with her brothers and sisters and her parents at home. And then it's a case of, if I want to be with her, sit with her, I need to go there to sit with her. So this is what happens. But he feels that, look, she's not giving consideration to me. And the other side, another case I had this couple of weeks ago, where the poor wife is complaining the whole time to the husband, just give no consideration to her at all. Here is the opposite, where they're living with his family in that. No, he's living with in that home, with her wife's family. Temporary reasons, whatever. So what her complaint is, that at night he'll sit there with the TV and he'll sit there talking with her sisters and that, whereas she's waiting for her in their own seclusion, in their own room to sit and come and talk with her. But he'd rather spend time watching TV at night. So, and he's got time to sit till 2 a.m. just watching with the TV in front, or 2 a.m. just talking with her sisters and them. And when he comes to her, when she's saying, why do you come and sit with me? He says, I've got no time. So he can't make out time to come sit and speak with her, but he's got time to speak with somebody else. And this is what we have as well. Where the husband's got time for his mates and his friends, and he's got time for the whole world, but he's got no time for his own family. There I'm too busy. There is always a case of, don't you understand? Don't you understand? Don't you understand? I'm this busy, I'm that busy, I'm this busy, I'm that busy. There are excuses after excuses. But if one mate just comes with any request, and it's good that we should help as many people as we should do. But there if a friend comes with any need or something, or never mind, any need. If the friend just says, look, we're going to, there's a new restaurant open somewhere. Few mates of us are going, join us. Yeah, straight away, no problem. There is the thing. Here is the case of wife says, look, I need to go somewhere. Can you take me or not? This case, well, let me check my schedule. Let me check my plan on my phone. He goes into his phone to see what his appointments are. And here, if he makes the moment, his mate says, look, we're going out. You can join us. There, fine enough. No need to look at his planner at all. There, he's ever ready. And he's got all the time. And this is a common complaint that we have. No consideration for one another. And the prime example, as I mentioned, these incidents are there for us to take heed. For us to take heed and learn from of how these things from the lives of Sahaba, is a mention of Aisha who wanted to see the Sahaba who were practicing the archery, where Nabi Kareem Sallallahu took and Nabi just stood there while she was looking at them playing archery. And said Aisha stood there for a while, and she herself explains it so beautifully that she says, in order to show how long Nabi stood there, she says that, look, I was at that age where you can understand that a person is fascinated with such things. Meaning, if there's some play or some leisure taking place, as adults we may just see it for a few moments and then fine, we've seen it enough time. But a child won't be satisfied. A child will want to go for long. Take a child to the park, the child doesn't want to just go for 5 minutes and come away. Adults, we want to just be 5 minutes and out from there. But a child wants to be there for a long while. This was what Aisha mentions, that I was at that age. So you can understand how long I stood there, and because of me, Nabi just stood there making hijab, and I just stood there watching those Sahaba, those companions practicing the archery. Then Nabi Kareem Sallallahu didn't say to Aisha, and Nabi Sallallahu had full rights to say to her that, look, I've got a busy schedule. Why? Because I am who? I am Nabi of the Ummah. I am the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he had the entire Ummah's affairs on his mind. He had a lot more important things, the iman of people, expeditions that were going out, the Sahaba who were coming one by one there in Masjid Nabi. So many needs and so many things Nabi Kareem Sallallahu had that need to be done. But at that moment, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu did not say to Aisha, do you not understand? Do you not understand? I'm the Nabi of Allah, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I've got no time. But no, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu just stood there until she was satisfied, and Nabi Kareem Sallallahu then moved away from there. This is what? Showing consideration for one another. And this is something that we do not have in our marriages. This is showing consideration for one another. And this is something that is very, very important. That we show consideration. Husband shows consideration for the wife. And the wife shows consideration for the husband. When she understands that, look, what his needs are, and then accordingly she avails herself for that. The husband, he takes consideration of the wife, look what her condition is. There are times wherein a normal condition, when she's fine and well, she's doing everything in the home. But there might be times wherein she's ill. And because she's ill, she may not be able to do everything that she normally does. If she cannot make fresh roti every day to feed you, because she's ill one day, or your child is ill and because of your child being ill, she's been looking after that child. And many times when small children, babies are ill, it's a case of just keeping them in the laps the whole time. You hardly can't even put them down. So she's doing what? She's doing you a favor by she's looking after the children and looking after them. So because of that, if she could not make any fresh roti for you for one day, why not accept that? Why not accept that? Or even if it means for one day you say to her, never mind, I will provide the food. Now how you provide it, that's up to you. Or even if it means that you put the apron on and start cooking, then by all means. Don't make a habit of it. So a case of where consideration for one another. And where there is this consideration of one another, there is no complaints. But if it's going to be a case of the husband, he's saying, here we can't tell who's the husband and wife in the marriage. You know, I'm like the wife in the house, I'm doing all the cooking, and I'm doing all the washing, and I'm doing all the chores in the house. So he's going to be complaining about the wife because she's only at work. He's going to be complaining there. And on the other side, she's doing everything in the home. And the husband is not willing to do anything at all in the home, then she's going to have her complaints. Look, I do everything. But he's not willing to help or do his share at all. So again, this complains both sides because there's none is taking consideration of one another. And this is something very, very important that we should understand and something that we should take into consideration. And as I mentioned to you, again, this importance of the duties. And the perfect example for us, and I'll end off this because of time, and then we'll leave the second section of the permission part for next week, inshallah. This prime example to you of doing things in a manner that is what suitable or that which will be most effective in the home, in the marriage. Where nowadays the wife, where they say, look, it's not my duty to cook. And I'm not going to be doing this, I'm not going to do that. Again, an example of Sayyidina Aisha, Sayyidina Fatima and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala, this agreement that they had between them. And in that, what was Sayyidina Fatima doing? Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala would do all the chores of the home. She had taken that responsibility. And she would do that. And the famous known narration where Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala, she, because of her doing the chores in the home, her hands, she would have blisters on her hands, and she would have marks on her shoulders and that, carrying the buckets of water and these things, taking water out from the well and that. Because in those days, working in the home wasn't as easy as it is now. If the women today need to make some roti, it isn't so difficult. Although for them, even that is so difficult nowadays. It isn't so difficult. Why? Because the flour is already ready flour made for them. In the same way, you've got your cookers there, so it's just a case of putting on the dial that you want and then just switching it on. Everything is ready. In those days, if the woman wanted to make just simple roti, never mind everything else, it would be a case of getting the wheat. And then they would have the wheat, and then they would have the grinder and with the wheel. And with that, they would actually have to sit there and grind chakki. Grind the wheat and that, and clean it, and then grind it and all that, and then again clean it and take out all the husks and that from it. After that would be done, would you just have the atta? So just having the flour would take so long. And then once you have the atta, now you want to actually make the roti, bringing outside and now looking for the firewood. And not just any wood specifically for that need. So then she would have to go out to look for the firewood, bring that firewood and put that there, and then start that. And that obviously that's not going to burn as good as we have our cookers in that. You need water as well. It wasn't a case of just open a tap and you've got water there. It would be a case of going out, go to the well and fill the buckets of water. So much you would have to do just for that one roti. That's how difficult it was. So Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, in her doing the chores of the home, and she had children as well, so she has to feed them as well. In this chores of the work and that, and they had a living to make as well. So in doing all this work and that, Hazrat Ali would be out. So in doing such, what would happen is that her hands would become injured, and she would have splinters on her hands, and she would have blisters on her hands. And carrying the load of water, that would have marks on her shoulders. So somebody had mentioned to her that why don't you ask Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give you a slave? It was the time of those times. So on one occasion when the booty of Khaybar came, and that was a lot of booty, somebody said to her that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving out slaves to people. You go and ask him, request for him a slave as well. So Fatima radiallahu ta'ala went there, and when she went, the Nabi was busy, so she went to Sayyidina Aisha and said to Sayyidina Aisha, this is what my plight is, that because of this my hands and these are the marks, this is happening. Just say to Nabi that I came requesting that if he could give one gulam, give one slave, so that at least this slave can do this type of work for me, so then it makes it easy for me. And those were days wherein they had, because there were slaves, it was a lot easy for women to work in the home as well, because they had workers and slaves who would carry out such chores. But Sayyidina Fatima didn't have one, so because of that she did things herself. But she could do that herself. Why? Because she took the responsibility of that. And Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala was a merchant. And he would do his business that he needs to be doing. Whereas if Sayyidina Fatima would say to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala that, oh Ali, I'm the daughter of the Prophet of Allah, so I have more rights than anybody else. Human rights here, women's rights. You can go out and I want to go out as well. You sit at home and you sit with a chakki. You sit there and you grind the flour and that. Things would not have worked out for them. But Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala, but still she's toiling in the home, knowing that look, this is my work, this is my duty. Only then will our home run correctly. She smoothly. So she's doing these things. Now when Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu ta'ala came and mentioned this to Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, father is a father. When he heard that look, this is the plight of the daughter, that she's becoming injured in this way and this is what her condition is, he immediately came in to see Sayyidina Fatima and asked her what she has what to say. And she mentioned what her condition was. To which Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to her, Fatima, you've made so much sabr, make further sabr as well. That until Muhammad does not give every person, every household in Medina a slave, until then Fatima will not have a slave in her home. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a lot of things to consider as well. Because if Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have given Fatima a slave, and others still wouldn't have, there were those who were very weak and mischief mongers as well, the munafiqeen, who would any excuse just to send a false messages around. Look at booty came and the first he gives to his family. He gives preference to his own. So for that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to be wary about these things. So he says, until they don't, I cannot give you. And knowing that she is disappointed, instead Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives her what gift? Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to her, oh Fatima, never mind, but instead of a slave, I'll give you something which is a lot better for you than that. And that is what? The tasbih Fatima. 33 times Subhanallah, 33 times Alhamdulillah, and 34 times Allahu Akbar. So that is suffice for you and that is better for you than having such a slave. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave her that and she was pleased. She was pleased with having that. You know, that's a different aspect. The whole point here in that part was to mention how here Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, how she had taken responsibility of the various chores and the various work within the home. But although it was a case of her plight was that because certain things were not available in the home, that she had to go out of the home to get the firewood, she had to go get the water. Allah has made that easy for us, that all these things are available for us within the home. So when this way, as I mentioned, getting this balance is very, very important within the home, where the husband plays his role and the wife plays her role. On this role aspect, finally, and end on this, as I can appreciate, it is late, and that is one of the biggest mistakes a husband can make is allowing the wife to pursue a career, or to pursue a career, or start off a career. Some women, there might be those who had a career and then they came into the home. There are those who are anguptacha, who were illiterate or didn't know much. They were better off in that condition. Instead of the husband now telling her, no, you've got time on your hands, you've got nothing to do in the home, go take this course, go take that course, go to college, start learning this, start learning that. And in this way, he is the one who is allowing her out of the house. And he is the one who's then allowing her, once, obviously she's going to take up a course now. Fine, if she stays within the home in hijab, online courses, and she increases her knowledge, there's no harm in that at all. Learning such things, such arts and crafts, which she can also do in the home, and she can even earn a living from that. Islam allows, there's nothing wrong in that whatsoever. But here where he's sending her out to in the mingling environment, and then once she now qualifies with something, she's not going to come in the home and want to sit in the home now, because she's already given that freedom of going out. So then she said, well, if I'm qualified, you send me out to learn computing. Now I've learned computing, so now I want a job in IT somewhere. So now her demand is that, look, I've just started my career, now I want to go out and I want to go out and work. I want to go out and work. You've sent me out to Carlton Cards, so I want to go and work in Carlton Cards. All my friends are going to Carlton Cards. All my friends are sucking shelves in Sainsbury's. Tick, doing khidmat of all the people buying stuff in the shopping centers. People are doing this, so I want my freedom, I want to go out as well. That is one of the biggest mistakes. Because that is when things, as I said, we go off the rail then. That when she's out and she's doing all the khidmat outside the home and none of the khidmat is being done in the home, the husband comes home, he has to do khidmat in the home, he feels that, look, he's working outside and he's doing khidmat in the home as well, he gets frustrated. The wife, she's doing khidmat outside, she comes home, she can't do khidmat within the home, nobody's seeing towards the home, nobody's seeing towards the children, and the husband and wife are at one another's loggerheads. Why? Because, again, we have spoiled, we've changed things. We are running things the opposite to how it should be. And the sorrow thing is that the same wife, she doesn't mind slogging for some stranger outside, but she doesn't want to make khidmat for the husband. If the husband just says to her and asks for her, fetch me a glass of water, and the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned in the hadith that where water is available and you fetch and you give somebody water to drink, you get the reward of freeing one slave from the family of Sayyidina Ismail. And where water is not available, there you go and fetch somebody's water, then you get the reward of freeing 100 slaves. Here the husband asks for water. Knock on how you think I'm your slave or what? Isn't it? First he says, you think I'm your slave or what? Can you get up and get water? Get it yourself. This doesn't mean as well. You know, the other side you have some husbands who can't anything. Even a glass of water they won't get up. One person, he said when he comes home from work, he puts his feet up. Which means the wife now undoes his laces, takes his shoe off and takes his socks off. One is different where the wife herself does that khidmat. And she sit down and you've tied and she presses her legs and she takes that. That's a different matter. But here this is the expectancy he has. No, feet up, that means you have to do this. I'm sat here, hey, where's my tea? And it's a case of he sat there on his chair, he's on the chair, then everything, nothing will be, he won't move from there. Everything has to be brought for him. His tablet needs to be brought there. His water for that has to be brought there. His this has to be brought there. Everything needs to be brought there. And that's what he does. And he's just demanding, bring this, bring that, do that, do this for me. This is incorrect as well. They're not your slaves. They're not there for you to demand for you to do such. But then on here what happens, the other side is where he's saying, fetch me a glass of water, and she's saying, I'm not your slave. But then she doesn't mind her career as what? A hostess. She doesn't mind being a hostess or stewardess in an aeroplane or a waitress somewhere. There over and over, strangers are buzzing, fetch me drink, fetch me some juice, fetch me this water, fetch me. Yes, no problems. Anything else? There is the case of over and over, 10 times she'll be going up and down, making khidmat of who? Strangers. And she regards that to be a career, and she's advanced. So she's slogging away there for other people. And she regards that to be her tarakki, that she has now progressed in life. And she is pleased with that. But the husband asks her for one glass of water, and then she can't even do that. She's saying, who you to demand a glass of water from him? But she's fine doing that. If the husband says, do some work in the home, no, why should you do it? You clean the toilet bathroom. But then when she goes and cleans all the toilet and bathrooms in hotels, in all the toilets in schools, in the toilets in other public buildings, she doesn't mind doing that type of job. But then she doesn't want to do that within the home. But she's doing that outside the home, she's progressive. And if she's doing that in the home, then it's the opposite. So this is how, and this is where all this frustration builds up, and all these fights and arguments build up. And now may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from all these things, give us all the correct understanding. Shall we continue with this next week? From next week, Isha is 8:30. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.